Class today, we are going to be discussing the immune system, and you also are going to play the role of an epidemiologist in a lab setting, which you will figure out what that is in just a moment. But before we get started with the lab, you are going to watch a short video about the immune system that Tim and Moby is going to explain to you. In watching the video, you are going to need to take notes about the immune system. So on your blank sheet of paper, title it immune system. You do not need to have the correct heading because these are your notes. You're going to jot down some information about the immune system as far as what is the immune system, what does the immune system do for you, what affects the immune system, how does the immune system work, when does it not work, different things like that. These are notes, so you can freehand, you can shorthand, you can abbreviate, just so that it makes sense to you about the immune system. You're not going to be able to gather everything Tim and Moby said about the immune system unless you go back and you rewatch the notes online so you can gather some more information. So don't get stressed out if you didn't get everything that they said. Jot down as much information as you can about the importance of the immune system. Any questions? Okay, then let's go ahead and get started.
Sorry. Dear Tim and Moby, why do we get sick? From Ashley. Yeah, I was just asking myself the same question. Got it out. No one likes to have a fever or a cough that just won't stop. But you get sick a lot more if it weren't for your immune system. That's a system of tissues, cells, and organs that help your body fight off illness and disease. Your immune system starts with some general defenses against pathogens. Those are any germs or chemicals that can make you sick. Skin is like a shield that prevents pathogens from entering your body. Mucus in your nose traps many of the pathogens you inhale, preventing them from getting into your bloodstream. And stomach acids kill bacteria that live on the food you eat. Sometimes, though, germs get by those defenses and into your blood. White blood cells, or leukocytes, patrol your bloodstream looking for these invaders. If leukocytes recognize a germ, they'll kill it before you get sick. Your immune system sends lots of germs running for their lives on a daily basis. But if it doesn't recognize them, the germs could multiply, invade your cells, and make you sick. But your immune system is always learning. When they figure out what's making you sick, white blood cells create antibodies to fight the infection. An antibody is a protein that binds with a molecule or antigen found only on the invading germ. The antibody is sort of a red flag, signaling leukocytes to kill the germ. Some antibodies can neutralize germs on their own. If you get sick from a virus, like the flu or a cold, your immune system can usually fight it off on its own. But bacterial infections, like strep throat, may require assistance from antibiotic medications. Oh, and the coolest thing about your immune system is that it remembers. When you have something like the chicken pox, your body memorizes the antibodies it built to fight it off. If that chickenpox pathogen tries to enter your body again, the immune system will know how to get rid of it. That's how vaccines like polio and measles shots work. Your body is injected with a tiny amount of virus. Usually, the virus is either killed or deactivated, but your immune system still recognizes it and creates antibodies for it. So if those diseases ever come your way, they won't make it far. Once you have the antibodies for a certain illness, you're immune to it. Well, actually, your immune system does need your help. Simple things like not getting enough sleep or not eating right can weaken your immune system so that you get sick more often. And sometimes pathogens attack the immune system itself. You've probably heard of HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, or acquired immune deficiency syndrome. HIV attacks white blood cells and weakens your immune system to the point that your body can't fight off pathogens. When this happens, something like a simple cold can make a person really sick. Nope, HIV isn't the only cause of immune system malfunctions. People's immune systems can also break down as a result of things like malnutrition, obesity, and drug abuse. And sometimes the immune system goes haywire from something called autoimmunity. That's a condition when the body's immune system overreacts to certain cells in the body that are not really a threat. When that happens, a person's own immune system essentially attacks him or herself, which is really bad news. Well, the common cold is actually lots of different viruses that produce similar symptoms. Just because your immune system fought off one cold virus doesn't mean it'll be ready for the next one. I can't drink all that. Okay.
Okay, so for the immune system, you should have jotted down a couple of pieces of important information, and we're going to go through some of that important information. Sorry, I'm unstuck. All right, so we're going to go through some of that important information now. What color do you want me to write with? Blue. Or blue. All righty. So let's get started here. What does the immune system do? Okay, good. It helps fight off diseases. And we're going to put pathogens, because not just diseases, but bacteria that causes diseases and viruses that causes diseases. So it helps fight off pathogens, right? Then we found out that the immune system is made up of tissue, cells, and organs. You're only rewriting this if you didn't get this information. There's certain information that I put up here that you did not get, then you need to write it. If you got this information, then you don't need to write anything as far as that's concerned. All right, we found out that the skin does what? It shields. Yep. So we already know that the immune system fights off pathogens. The skin is going to be the shield against the pathogens. Then we found out that mucus, although it looks gross, it's for a purpose. What was that for? What does the mucus in your nose do? Yes, it blocks or traps. So the skin shields, the mucus is going to trap the stomach. Stomach. What did we learn that the stomach does? So it's going to kill bacteria. And specifically the bacteria that feeds on our food. So when we eat stuff that already has bacteria on it, thank goodness for our stomach and the acid in there, because it's going to kill that bacteria. Tim?
If we get like a stomach virus, does that mean like we didn't?
That means it took over. Yep, that bacteria took over. All right, or that virus took over. In addition to that, we also have cells, which are the white blood cells. If you don't know what WBC stands for, make sure you put white blood cells. We know the Latin name for white blood cells. What word was white? Leuco. What word means cells? We already had this. Starts with a C. When we learned about endo, like something, and exo. So what word is cell? Thermal is not cell, that's heat. Cyto. So this would be leukocyte. Which means what? White cell. So these are your white blood cells. What does your white blood cell do? What did the video talk about your white blood cells doing? All of these are part of your immune system. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to add just a little bit of information because white blood cells are going to recognize. Not spelling that correctly. They're going to recognize and kill or stop pathogens by doing what? You tell me something they did? Creating antibodies. I'm going to just extend my screen a little so I can keep writing. What's an antibody? What is an antibody? First of all, give me what that word means. Anti means against. Against what? Against body. What kind of bodies? Living bodies, little small bodies, which would be what? Pathogens, bacteria, pathogens, and germs. So what do antibodies do? They kill or stop the bad germs. But they're not necessarily the ones that kill it. What they do, they're considered like your red flags. And they attach to the pathogen, signaling. That's not right, is it? Signaling, yeah. Signaling white blood cells to destroy. So the way that it happens, I still don't know if I got that right. Destroy or attack. The way that it happens is, for instance, in the community, if you saw someone with handcuffs on their hands, what would you think? They're going to jail. They're a bad guy, right? So what happens is when we get these germs and these pathogens inside of our body, our antibodies, our white blood cells have already created these antibodies because they recognize the disease. Because either we've been exposed to it before or we've had it before. And either way, we've been exposed to it. They then make antibodies. Those antibodies carry around a sign, like a mugshot of the bad guy. So when they see that bad guy, they're like, oh, I know you. They put handcuffs on it. Nope, you're not a good guy. You're a bad guy. They put handcuffs on it. The white blood cells are going around just chilling, watching their day. But when they see that the antibody is attached to something, they know that's a bad guy because the antibody has recognized, attached to it. That tells me it's time to destroy. Same thing for you. If you see a bad guy out and about and they have handcuffs, you know that's a bad guy. I need to stay away from there. So that's what the antibodies do. That's how it works in your body for that. Now your antibodies are also the ones that give you what's called immunity. What does that mean? Yes, it gives you immunity against viruses and diseases. Why does it give you immunity? Your body knows. So I'm going to put here, antibodies gives you immunity against viruses and diseases that you have been exposed to. Now that could be exposed to meaning you've already had it, or exposed to meaning you've been around someone that had it. Either way it goes, you've been exposed to it. Your white blood cells create these antibodies. Your antibodies are now in your body looking for that. So whenever it comes, say, nope, I recognize you. You're out of here, buddy. However, if you've never been exposed to it, then you don't have the antibodies, which means you don't have immunity, which means that you're possibly going to get sick. Two things can happen. If you're exposed to a disease, what's one thing that can happen? You get sick, or you develop an immunity because your white blood cells create antibodies for it. We're going to talk about how you can develop immunity and stop yourself from getting sick just right now. So let me just scroll this up just a little bit more. Do you want to do this? Do you want to break down your immune system? No. But these are ways that you can break down your immune system, which means that when you're exposed to a disease, if your immune system is broken down, then you're going to get sick. But if your immune system is built up, then you're going to be able to develop immunity. So let's look at some ways that your immune system can be broken down. What were some ways that you can break down your immune system, meaning that your immune system will now be on vacay? Michael. Lack of sleep. So if you like to get sick, don't get proper amounts of sleep. If you want to start developing immunity to certain things, then get some sleep. Kaylee. Improper diet, which means lack of nutrition. What else? What else? Drugs. Inappropriate use of drugs and illegal drugs, meaning the Tylenol that you take. Don't overdo it on that. Don't do illegal drugs. Illegal drugs being from prescription to over-the-counter to, drugs being prescription to over-the-counter to illegal things, even cigarettes. Not doing that. And I'm even going to put here lifestyle. What else? Environmental things could be possible. The environment can definitely break down your immune system. We have control over the first three so far. We really don't have much control over our environment unless we choose to be around people who are doing things that could break down our immune system, like smoking cigarettes and things of that nature. Colin. Okay. That would be in the drug category, alcohol. What else? What else could break down your immune system? What if you're already sick? Isn't your immune system broken down? Why? It's already doing a job. That's like them calling me in here and saying, Ms. Wiggins, we need you to go to the office and answer phones now and teach your class. I can't do both. I'm going to be split up. I'm either going to be in there, I'm going to be in here. So let's put other diseases. Now, some of these you can prevent through your lifestyle. Some you just get exposed to, like a common cold. Let me speak on that for a moment. Some of you are like, well, my immune system doesn't work for me very well because I've had a cold a couple times. Well, like Tim and Moby told us in the video, colds are different strands of viruses. You don't know how many times that your immune system has worked for you to prevent you from getting a cold that you've already been exposed to. You've seen many of your friends in here with the sniffles and the coughs and the aches and the pains, and you didn't get sick. You've probably already been exposed to that. Your body did what it's supposed to do. The time you do get a cold, it's either your immune system was already weak or you have never been exposed to that cold virus before. It is still a cold, but not the virus that caused that cold. So don't think that, oh, my body's not working for me, it's fired, okay? Another thing, even though we put inappropriate diet here, also obesity. Watching your weight is very important because when you're obese, then your body has to focus on other things like pumping blood to your heart, getting oxygen through your body. It can't focus on keeping you healthy because it's focusing on keeping you alive. Okay, so you have to be careful of those things. This does not mean to become anorexic. It just means if you watch your proper nutrition, then you can keep your weight under control. Do you understand? Any other questions? Want to talk about this obesity just a moment. This is an epidemic in America right now, which is why First Lady um, Obama is focusing on young children and nutritional value in eating because it is a problem in our society. Why is it a problem in our society? Because we have such access to food. Everywhere we go, we can get something to eat. There's fast food, there's slow food, there's medium food, there's all types of food that we can eat. Do you agree? And that we can get to. They're cheap. It's cheaper to eat unhealthy than it is to eat healthy, isn't it? You can go to McDonald's and get anything off a dollar menu, your whole meal, a sandwich, a drink, and a dessert for $3. You go to a restaurant that's going to feed you healthy, what you're going to get for $3 is your drink. So it's a big problem, which is why you guys should be conscientious and take note of, what you eat. In our country, when you are obese, it is looked at as being gluttonous or being greedy and things of that nature. In other countries, however, obesity is looked at as a sign of wealth because they don't have access to food like we do. So if you got food, if you're kind of bigger, that means you got some money because you can buy some food, which means you can get some weight on you. It's also looked at in other countries as being beautiful by men. They look for women who are more meaty and more chunky because they look at that as being beautiful because they think they can carry babies, and that's going to be a sign of wealth for them. I like to watch a show called Taboo, which comes on Discovery Channel. And it's a very cool show because it tells you about different parts of the country and what we consider to be right, they may consider to be wrong. What we consider to be wrong, they may consider to be right. What society considers to be wrong or right, they may consider the opposite. So it's just interesting to see how other people live their lives in other parts of the country, what their values and their morals are. And it helps me to understand that everything I do is not necessarily right. It may be right in my household, but someone else, what works for them, works for them. But in the obesity, the one I was watching this weekend, in a third world country, like I said, they look at it as being a sign of health and wealth and beauty for women. So the mothers force feed their young children. So there was like a child that she was about she looked like she was about 6. And that's the age, I forget what they call it, but that's the age where they start their obesity training. And basically they force feed the child. Like there's not really a lot of solid foods there. They have to cut and kill cattle and farm and stuff like that. So, people in this country are kind of poor. So they just have milk. So she has this bowl of milk and she has a little girl sitting there and she's just pouring this milk down the girl's throat. And then she has a shoe like she's about to hit her because she won't swallow. Now this girl is full and she's crying and then she's like gagging and then she's trying to swallow because she doesn't want to get hit. So then she's spitting it up and then her mom's like, yelling at her in another language, but you can tell she's basically saying, you better drink this, you need to do this, whatever. So the little girl's crying and she's gagging. And the way that the mom also does it, besides the shoe, is she has the sticks in between her legs, and the sticks are like my 2 fingers here, and the little girl's foot is in between the sticks. And the mom is squeezing the sticks with her leg, and they say that the pain distracts the little girl from the fact that she's full and she doesn't want to eat. She's so focused on the pain that she's going to go ahead and swallow the food. So the little girl, she's trying to do both, and then she kicks the stick off her leg, and then she's spitting the food out, and then I'm just like, oh my god. In our country, that would be considered what? Child abuse. There, it's perfectly normal, and the father's like, I don't see anything wrong with it because my wife is doing what she should do. She's preparing my daughter for her future of marriage so that she can be desirable to a man that wants to marry her. So that's my spiel on obesity, but we do know that in science, we understand that obesity is a health risk no matter where you are and what your tradition and your culture is. Any questions about this? No, they consider they want the women to be like that. Only the women go through this training. All right, so is it possible for you to be around someone with a disease and you don't get it? Yes, because why? Okay, let me say this. Good. She said not all diseases are contagious. Good. I should have clarified that. Is it possible for you to be around a contagious disease and not get it? Why? Because your immune system developed what? Immunity, which means what? You have the antibodies to protect you against it. Is it possible for someone to spread a disease but not show symptoms of being sick? Yes. How? Raise your hand. Never mind. Carter. No, I want to know how, not a disease. Is it possible for someone to spread a disease but not have any symptoms of being sick?
If you had,
Okay, keep going.
if you had, like you said, you may have a virus, but you're not showing any symptoms. Maybe if you like spread it to somebody else, then they would have it, but you wouldn't have it.
Exactly. You would be considered a what? A carrier. That means you have the virus or the disease in you, but you show no symptoms. But because you still have that virus, you're passing it on to other people and they can catch it. Is it possible for you to pass on a disease to more than one person? Yes. So let's say I'm sick. I could give it to you 4 people plus 3 people I ran into the grocery store. They could all have been infected by me. Is it possible, let's say, strep throat? Let's say you have strep throat right now and you don't know it yet. You haven't developed any symptoms. And she passed it on to me. Now I have it. Is it possible for me to, I have it already. Is it possible for me to also get it from her? I have it already. No. So it's not possible for one person to pick up the same disease at the same time from 2 different people. Once the virus has been infected from you to me, I already have it. She doesn't give it to me too. But you can give it to me and her and her and her and him and her. Okay? Question.
So Samir did did she lose it?
No, she didn't lose it. Her body has to overcome that disease. She has to either fight it off, or if it's a virus, they have to fight it off. If it's a bacteria, they have to kill it.
Like if I know I have strep throat and I'm taking something for it, can
You still are contagious until it's gone. And that's why they recommend you take all of your medicine when you are on medicine, so you fully get rid of it so you're not contagious anymore. Okay, that's why the doctor recommends you stay home for a while. Sometimes medicine they give you knocks out the contagiousness of it. You still have the symptoms because your body's still fighting it, but you're not contagious anymore because the antibiotic or whatever has killed all the bacteria. Mm-hmm. HIV is so tricky. It's always changing and disguising itself. So that's why it's very difficult to gather that. I heard on the news today in Good Morning America that there was a young lady whose mother, trying to get the story right, whose mother had HIV at pregnancy. The girl was born, she didn't have any signs of it at all. For the majority of her life, 30 years later, she developed it. So they were trying to figure out her genome, where they can see if they can figure out a cure for that. And they were also trying to figure out her lifestyle, if she caught it later or was it something that developed. So someone had their hand up over here.
is there any disease like that, or you can pass it on?
You don't lose a disease. Remember, we already talked about disease. Your body has to do something about that disease. Okay? Any other questions? So we learned about immunity. We learned what immunity does for us, how immunity works. We also learned the fact that you could pass on the disease and not even know you have it. We also learned that you could pass it to more than one person. Can you have symptoms of a disease but not actually have that disease? Let's say I'm coughing and I'm sneezing. Do I necessarily have a cold? No. What could be wrong? I could have allergies, pollen. I could have inhaled some dust. I'm coughing. What could be wrong? I could just be choking. I could have laughed. What? Asthma. All of those things. So just because someone has the symptoms of something doesn't mean they have that. Something else could be wrong. So your job today is you're going to play the role of an epidemiologist. If you read along with me, an epidemiologist are scientists who trace the spread of a disease through a population. What I've done just now is given you some history of background information, basically took you through training to be an epidemiologist. They do this to learn how the disease spreads and to find ways to help prevent its further spread. One way epidemiologists gather such information is by going to a community and comparing sick people to healthy people. Their work is complicated because not all people who are exposed to an infection get sick. Vaccinations, previous exposure to the infection, and overall health affect whether a person who is exposed to an infection will become sick. Sometimes there is no obvious connection among the sick individuals. Epidemiologists then have to resort to testing for the infection in healthy people to find the transmission path. Transmission path means how has it spread. If we can find the root, then we can stop it and then fix the problem. Is that true? Okay. This is because you can pass on an infection before you know you are sick. Some infectious diseases, such as typhoid and diphtheria, which you'll be learning about later, can be carried and spread for a long time by someone who never developed symptoms of the illness. These carriers can be important links in the spread of disease. Your job today is you will try to find who the carriers are of this disease. So right now, I'm going to take you to the town of Abingdon because that's where you'll be working. This newspaper article hit your desk today. It's the Abingdon Chronicle. You all are the epidemiologists working under a doctor known as Dr. Montague. The article reads, New disease at Sauk Junior High School. Yesterday, a science teacher at Sauk Junior High School was sent to a hospital with a serious illness. Lab results came back with a surprising diagnosis of a new type of infection. Why the surprise? Because this type of infection has never been observed before in Abingdon. Miss Shah became sick on December 3rd with a high fever, sore throat, and wheezing cough. At first, she thought she had the flu, but when she had difficulty breathing, she went to her doctor. Dr. Holmes of Abingdon Hospital noticed similar symptoms in another patient who is a student at Sauk. When interviewed, he commented, Miss Shaw's symptoms were very serious. She was sick for a week and in the hospital for 2 days. Because Miss Shaw came into contact with many students each day, I was concerned that this disease might spread. However, there were no more cases for about 10 days. I was so relieved. Since then, however, several more people at the school have become sick and have had similar symptoms. Local health officials are concerned. Could this be the beginning of an outbreak? A local epidemiologist, Dr. Montague, is working to identify the path of transmission. Who infected whom? In order to determine this, she has begun to gather information. To date, she has interviewed 8 individuals. Your job is to work with Dr. Montague to figure out the transmission of this disease. If you look in your book, I am going to go over the materials that you are going to be using. If you are listening to this lesson online, you need to read the description area so that you know exactly what to do for this lab. All right, on your lab sheet today, let me explain, you're going to be doing a lab who infected whom. You will be completing a 2-day lab. It must be neatly handwritten, no scribbling, and points will be deducted for neatness. Dr. Montague, which is the head epidemiologist that you work for, has interviewed 8 individuals. The 8 individuals are these cards here that you all have in front of you. In interviewing them, Dr. Montague has asked them a couple of questions. For instance, Mr. Ed Klasky, she found out that he has Mr. Klasky for math. He also is a member of drama club. He rides bus 37, and she's checked him or talked to him and found out that he has no symptoms. She has not checked anyone for the disease. She just interviewed them. Now it's your job to do the rest. So you have your 8 people here. You are going to review those cards. If you look at your lab sheet, you have a problem. Who has the infectious disease spread through a community? How has the infectious disease spread through a community? When I release you, you're going to go ahead and answer your problem. You're going to answer the question there. In answering your problem, you're going to develop a web. If you look at your paper in front of you, your hypothesis will be a web. It's not going to be a sentence. The web will follow the instructions as it reads. You're going to read in the interview cards with your partner. Online, you need to read the interview cards on your own. Then you're going to discuss with your partner only, no one else, how the disease may have spread from person to person. The people from your interview cards are the people that have been interviewed. On the table, you're going to move the cards around, developing a web. Remember, one person could infect multiple people, and it is also possible that people do not have the disease. If you believe that someone does not have the disease, you're going to move them to the side. And I'm going to show you how you're going to do this. So you and your partner are going to look at these cards, read them, try to figure out a path. We're not creating a train or a flow chart, so you're not creating like a timeline to say, okay, I think Heather gave it to Miriam, which gave it to Laura, which gave it to Shaw, which gave it to this. You're not creating a timeline like that. You're creating a web. You could possibly say, and I'm just doing this in a random order, so this is not how it goes, but you could say, Miriam, I think gave it to Laura. If you look at how they're connected, and I think Miriam also could have given it to Mr. Klasky. Remember, this is a hypothesis. Then you could say maybe Mr. Klasky gave it to Tron. Tron probably gave it to Heather. But I also think that Tron gave it to Ed. And I don't think Miss Shaw has it. And I think Laura may have gave it to Mr. Milligan. Or you could say, I don't think Heather has it. Whatever the case may be. Or Tron gave it to Ed, Heather, and Mr. Milligan. It all depends on how you do it. If you feel like someone did not have it, you're going to put them over here. If you read further on your paper, after you've created your web and you agreed upon your web, then you're going to draw your web below where it says hypothesis. This is going to take some time, which is why it's a 2-day lab. You have to kind of make the connection work and see how you think the connection is going to work. There's no possibilities. It is a hypothesis, but you can't say it's possible that Laura got it from Mr. Shaw or maybe Miriam. You have to kind of get a definite there. Once you do that, then you can say it's possible that Klasky gave it to Tron and Tron gave it to these two. But remember, you only can get the disease from one person, but you can pass it to many people. When you develop your web, it's going to look something like this. This is a web. Do not try to fit yours in here because this was just a sample web. This may not be true. You put those down for a moment. Notice on your paper, it tells you that your web must include the person's name. It must include how you think they're connected, whether they're connected through a bus, whether they're best friends, whether they're connected through a class. It must include the date of the symptoms if they have any symptoms. If they don't, you just put no symptoms. Keep in mind, you could have the disease but have no symptoms. Remember that it is a web. It's not a train that you're drawing, so it should be a web-like thing. After you're done with your web, if you turn your paper over to the next page, you are then going to discuss with your partner and your partner only which people may be the carriers of the disease, meaning that they may have spread it but do not have the disease. Record your possible carriers in that box below. Don't write anything yet, so you need to pay attention. After that, you're going to then move on to step 6. It says, in order to test a hypothesis, you will be able to test samples of their saliva from the people for the presence of the disease. Your hospital, however, only has enough money for you to test 4 people, so you will not be able to test all 8. So you have to make the best choices in which 4 people you are going to test using your chart and your knowledge. Then you're going to write down the 4 people that you're going to test in your data sheet there. You're also going to write down whether they have the symptoms or not. You are not getting disease results yet. That is going to happen on day 2. From there, you will be done. But you will need to take some time in developing and drawing your web. You may put your web down on your paper and decide, nope, that doesn't look right. I don't like that. I don't think that's possible, and discuss it with your partner. You may argue with your partner about it because you're trying to figure out how this disease has spread, and then you can switch it up and do it over, however you decide to do that. Any questions for this thus far? Okay, so today, what it is that you are doing is you are completing your hypothesis. Remember, that is a web. You're going to complete the lab portion day 1 using the materials and following procedures. You're going to start your data chart selecting 4 people you and your partner agree to test. Remember, no testing is happening today. Got it? Okay. For my online people who are listening to this, you are to develop a web. I will decide the 3 people that you are going to test, and that will be in the description area. So please write those people down.